A few weeks ago, I was playing GTA, idly driving through the countryside that surrounds Los Santos, taking a constitutional to gather my thoughts. And it occurred to me that it would be cool to play an open world game set in a zombie apocalypse, where you could drive around like that and admire the scenery, but there would be zombies roaming around everywhere that you had to watch out for. The Last of Us games had some open worldy bits, but they mostly keep you on straight rails, following a predetermined series of events. This would be a GTA style open world RPG set in a Last of Us type world. Anyway, I did some googling and it turns out my cool new idea was already done like 7 years ago, and it's called Days Gone.
The broken road is all that's left. But I'll always remember.
So I bought it, started playing it, and soon had very mixed feelings about it. Once I got into it, I started playing it non-stop. For a couple of weeks there, I divided my time between Days Gone and everything else. When I needed to work or buy food or get some sleep, I worked it around the Days Gone. I haven't been this obsessive about a game since I played Ghost of Tsushima in Kurosawa mode a few months ago, and I wanted to spend all day, every day, slicing and dicing Mongols. But unlike with Ghost of Tsushima, which I thought was a more or less perfect game, with nothing but upsides, all the things I love about Days Gone are constantly in conflict with all the things I fucking hate about it.
I used to love her, but I had to kill her. I used to love her, yeah, but I had to kill her.
At first, it took me a little while to get into it. When I first got out on the open road and started riding around to my heart's content, I learned how the gameplay system works the hard way. I didn't realize you had to keep gassing up the bike and repairing the engine, and when I did figure it out, I didn't realize how quickly those things would wear out. It's all fun and games until you're stranded at the side of the road in the middle of a zombie nest in the middle of the night with no ammo, no petrol, and a broken bike. As I searched the surrounding area for fuel and scraps and bullets, all while trying to stay hidden from hundreds of zombies, I almost gave up. I quit the game on 3 separate occasions before I finally managed to burn the zombie nest, gas up the bike, and get the fuck out of Dodge. But once I got out of that hell, I fell in love with the game. But it was more of a love-hate relationship. It's such a cool idea, an open-world zombie game, executed in the most frustratingly lame way imaginable. There have been plenty of games I've loved, plenty of games I've hated, and plenty of games I've been mixed on. I loved the cinematic atmosphere of Shadow of the Colossus, but I fucking hated the janky controls of the boss battles. I love the adrenaline rush of navigating monster-infested buildings in the Resident Evil games, but I hate how the fucking power is never fucking on. Just once, I'd like to get to an elevator and have it already be operational. But I've never been this divided on a game, where I have so much affection and so much vitriol for the same thing. Days Gone is somehow simultaneously one of the greatest games I've ever played, and one of the worst fucking games I've ever played.
Goddamn truther bullshit. You know, last I checked, the grasshoppers all armed themselves to the teeth, came in and killed all your fucking ants and took everything you own. So, if you're gonna tell parables, Cope, just get them right.
What? What are you talking about?
The atmosphere of the open world captures the sadness and loneliness of a post-apocalyptic world as effectively as The Last of Us or Shadow of the Colossus. But the actual storytelling it's built on is dog shit. The story itself is pretty good. It's not great, but not bad. It does the job. But it's like George Lucas's Star Wars prequels. A perfectly structured, classical story arc brought to life with some of the most jarring dialogue ever put to paper.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
It's hard to really engage with the loneliness of the wasteland because you're constantly being inundated with endless chit-chat over the radio. The developers seemingly had reams and reams of dialogue and not much else, because about 90% of the missions are an unskippable walk and talk.
Do me a favor. Take that shit off.
The gameplay is filled with aimless conversations over the walkie-talkie. That walkie-talkie group chat is more active than a group of teenage girls in high school. I'd understand if they had Tarantino or Aaron Sorkin writing the dialogue. I love all the walk and talk chatter in the Last of Us games because it's well written and it actually deepens the characters and their relationships in subtle ways. But the dialogue in Days Gone is the most incomprehensible drivel.
The truth shall set you free. War on terror.
Ready to do some screaming?
Mormon. None of that matters now that we're in the shit. But it's all just part of the goddamn conspiracy. So listen up. The war on terror is just smoke and mirrors. Started by good old Uncle Sam, using war as an excuse to look for weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist.
Good dialogue is like music to your ears, but bad dialogue like this sounds like bad music, played out of tune in the wrong key.
They were really dirty, and they carried flags they made themselves. Deschutes County Militia, I think. I don't remember.
Did they have anyone with them? Women? Children?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Tommy would remember.
Tommy?
Tommy Strickland, my best friend. But he's gone. He left with his dad to hide.
hide. I don't...
His dad built a fallout shelter and put all kinds of stuff in it.
Shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up!
It's full of cringeworthy, misguided attempts at humor in all the wrong places, like an awkward sex joke in the middle of a grief-stricken wedding flashback.
But only if you promise to ride me as much as you ride your bike.
Why are you singling my line out, like a million years later?
The dialogue eventually got so insufferable that I turned down the dialogue volume in the settings, so all the action and the music was still at full volume, but the characters were all just murmuring to each other. So when there would be a dramatic cutscene with characters dropping home truths left and right, all I would hear was... It was pretty funny, and much more entertaining than the dialogue itself. After a while, I started playing podcasts over the characters' inane chatter.
Do you remember Boys Night Out?
Yes!
Do you remember
the sketch that didn't make it on SNL when I was there with you?
Yes, Emily Spivey and I wrote a sketch called Boys Night Out, and it was Jack waiting for the boys to arrive, and they never showed up, and just kept ordering more wings. But there was a song. Do you remember the song to it?
Boys Night Out, Boys Night Out. Now we're really rocking, and the chicks are all squawking, 'cause I'm talking about a boys' night out. You never forget a song like that.
I was beyond giving a fuck about the story, except for the opportunities it provided me to shoot zombies and outlaws. There are a ton of missions where you just hang around and listen to a government researcher in the field, filling up a listen bar with intel.
Basically, Dina and I decided together to break up. And now she's going around, she's telling everybody that she dumped me, which is not true, it was mutual.
Okay.
Can you stop active listening?
Oh, yes, sorry, continue.
There are some missions where the only objective is listen to Colonel Garrett's speech. Not follow Colonel Garrett into battle or defend Colonel Garrett's convoy. Listen to Colonel Garrett's speech.
In this last age, we are the flood. We are sent forth to baptize the world with fire!
To bed! Tomorrow we rise. We leave at 10-ish.
But now, to bed. Unless you are one of those people like me who finds it very hard to get off after he's eaten cheese. In which case, stay a while by the fire. Talk of battles past and old.
I counted at least 3 times that happened. I skipped the speech every single time, so it might have been even more. But the first time it was like, what a lame mission. The second time it was like, they're doing that again? And then the third time it was like, fucking hell, another one.
Oh, come on! Elaine!
Phone call! I'm gonna be a phone call!
Oh, come on, this is important!
On the one hand, it's so much fun to ride around the post-apocalyptic wasteland on a motorcycle, scavenging for supplies and picking off stray zombies. But on the other hand, they've filled that wasteland with the dullest, most boring gameplay imaginable. The ride to the mission is almost always a lot more fun and eventful than the mission itself. Half the missions are just talking to a rock. The game keeps sending you back to your wife's memorial stone for a heart-to-heart.
Who thought it would be hysterical to give Toby a rock for his going away gift?
You did.
No!
You made me rap it. No, I thought it was over the line.
It makes me wonder why they didn't just scrap the story entirely and just make it a game where you ride around and shoot zombies. Even the other enemy AIs, like the wolves and the snipers, just became an annoying pain in the arse after a while.
Sniper on the road.
God damn it, not now!
Ow! Face! Oh, stupid cornballing piece of...
The hulked up super zombies are insanely durable, the crows can swoop down and fuck you up whenever they want, but they're almost impossible to shoot, and those fucking werewolf things are just cunts.
What the fuck? Oh, God! No! What's happening?
Who's that?
Days Gone is still full of bugs, even to this day. There were plenty of zombies stuck in place, there were enemies who drifted towards me without moving their legs, and it froze and crashed out more than a few times. The hordes drift into important story areas, and you have to do relatively mundane missions around them. I had to collect lavender around a massive herd of thousands of zombies, and as soon as one of them spots you, they all do, so it took fucking forever to grab all that lavender. The game's USP was the horde mechanics, and I'm sure the AI is very sophisticated and impressive, but I just couldn't wrap my head around single-handedly taking on a horde could. Every single time I tried, I had fun for a while, but ended up running out of ammo and getting surrounded and overwhelmed. I only managed to contain one of the smaller ones. On all the others, the game came along to hold my hand and ask if I wanted to skip to the next part of the story, and to my great shame, I always caved. Eventually, after about 50 hours of fun and frustration, I finally managed to finish the main story of Days Gone. But I've become so addicted to the thrill of riding across that wasteland that I've still been going back to finish every last task on the map. I'm down to the dregs now, basically just driving around looking at plaques. But I'll take any excuse to keep getting on that bike and tearing through that post-apocalyptic world. I'll even go back and talk to that fucking rock again.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.